Welcome to the Anime Podcast channel. My name is Benji, and this chapter that I'm going to be talking about in this chapter review is just giving us more and more of what I love about One Piece. But not only that, but it also adds a little bit more lore for what has happened for the Straw Hats after this raid in Wano. And I will say this, I still do want to see what happened or the last conversation that Sabo was going to have with the revolutionaries in the last chapter. But, I digress. But before I go ahead and start today, please go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Me and my homies Nick, Taj, and Phil make weekly podcast videos on all of your favorite anime and manga series, so go ahead and check us out. And I have some pretty big news. I will be starting my own individual channel that will be more so dedicated to One Piece and other anime and mangas that I am interested in. So please go ahead and subscribe to that channel, Benji. I'm gonna leave the link down for that channel in the description down below. And trust me, you're gonna wanna check out this channel. We're gonna be talking about a whole lot of things, especially the waifus. But I digress. And also, if you could go ahead and join our Geek Giant Discord. We literally have one of the best communities over there, so please go ahead and join our Discord. Link is also in the description down below. But without further ado, let's go ahead and begin with chapter 1059, chapter review, the Captain Koby incident. So to start, we begin the chapter with a cover page more so dedicated to the events going on in Whole Cake Island. And it seems like from last cover page that Caesar Clown has unleashed a special gas within this battlefield. And from this cover page in particular, it seems like the gas that Caesar Clown actually unleashed makes the people who actually inhale it confused. And in this cover page, we see the effects of it. We see both Katakuri and Oven of the Big Mom Pirates basically slugging it out. Now, I know people were saying, especially on Twitter, that this would never happen to the likes of King or Queen or Zoro and Sanji. But I believe a lot of people are not giving Caesar Clown enough credit. He is actually a legit scientist on the par with Queen, Judge, as well as the famous Vegapunk. He shouldn't be taken lightly is all that I have to say about this situation. And also, let's relax on all of the credit going to King and Queen. They recently just got packed up. And by seemingly a fraud nonetheless. But to truly start the chapter, we actually cut back to Marco the Phoenix, one of my goats. And during the passing through of the red-haired pirates recently after the ending of Wano, Marco decided that he wanted to hitch a ride from the red-haired pirates. Now, I may be the only one who may be wondering this question, but if Marco can fly, I don't necessarily see why he should take a ship in order to get back to Sphinx Island, but I digress. Now, my inference from this is maybe his devil fruit uses a lot of stamina, or he may be getting old, or he may have actually wanted to have a conversation with Shanks before he departed. Who really knows, but I do hope that we see a lot more of Marco. I hope this isn't the last time that we see him. But I actually find this very funny. While Marco was actually on the red-haired ship, Shanks actually invites him to join the crew, and I'm not gonna lie, that will be crazy OP. But Marco simply declines and says that he's gotten too old and worn out to play babysitter for some of these great pirates. And I also find it very interesting because this seems like an indicator that Marco is including Luffy in this great pirate kind of wording. But we actually cut to a flashback that is very interesting as well. And it's of Yamato and Luffy and basically how everything kind of transpired before she decided to be left in Wano. And I believe that Oda kind of had to do this because it really seemed like the sudden change of heart of Yamato not actually joining the Straw Hats was very abrupt and not necessarily in his planning, but in this chapter it's kind of more elaborated of why she actually stayed in Wano, and it makes more sense. But basically, Yamato actually explains that after the defeat of Kaido, one of the strongest opponents within the One Piece world, that this will breed more attention to Wano, just like the Green Bull incident. So she says that she will stay behind protecting Wano as Wano starts to become the strong country that it once was. And then will she finally become a real pirate and join the Straw Hat crew. Now, my only issue with this, because this actually makes a lot of sense, especially with Green Bull pulling up the Wano, will Yamato actually be able to have some kind of adventure before the final war, or will she even be involved in the final war? I'd like that, but I would also like for Yamato to at least go on one adventure with the crew before the war begins. Now, this may be a little bit more foreshadowing, because this would be very sad if once again Yamato is given the chance in order to join a crew. Basically, before it was Ace. In this moment, it would be Luffy. And like, not saying that Luffy's going to die, but if he ends up actually dying, then this would be devastating to Yamato. But let's not give Oda any ideas. But Luffy is a little bit reluctant and a little bit disappointed, basically from his facial mannerisms. But at the end of the day, he actually agrees with Yamato, and she's making a lot of sense. So basically, Yamato will act as a commander overseeing the territory of Wano, basically Luffy's territory. Now, I would be lying if I did not say that I would prefer Yamato to be included on the crew, but like I said before, this actually does make a lot of sense. And I do hope that Momo at some point gets strong enough in order to protect Wano himself, and then Yamato can basically embark on her journey with the Straw Hats. But also in this flashback, we see a long-awaited interaction between Marco and Luffy. Now, mind you, they haven't seen each other since the events of the Paramount War. And this interaction is extremely solid. We even get a couple words from Jinbei himself, who was also involved in the Paramount War. But basically, Marco lets Luffy know that if Ace could see him today, he would be extremely proud of the man that he's become. And Luffy just simply smiles. And this just adds that Luffy has become much more than a pirate. He's truly becoming a man. And this was one of the most shortest but most solid interactions that I love to see. I'm very glad that Oda was able to add this in this flashback. But moving on to the hype of the chapter, we actually cut to Amazon Lily, home of the GOAT herself, Boa Hancock. I think I called too many people GOATs in this series, but this series is GOATed, so I digress. Now, I think y'all boys and girls know that I am a Boa stan for many obvious reasons. Yeah. Anyways, but it seems like the beginning dialogue of this passage looks like Amazon Lily was invaded by men. And we finally get some context about what actually happened. So weeks prior to this current moment, the Marines had finally evaded Amazon Lily in pursuit of Boa Hancock, one of the former warlords, since the warlords are being replaced by the SSG. And in this very chapter, we actually get our first glimpse of the SSG. And trust me, the first impression is looking extremely solid, my boys. So during the invasion of Amazon Lily, we actually get a glimpse of one of the SSG members. And from what it seems like, they are using one of the pacifista beams that we've seen numerous times within the series. But the aesthetic of one of the SSG members actually looks like it seems to have fire on his back as well as wings. Now, you may be thinking that this may seem very similar, and that's because it is. The lab experience that we came across from the first Lunarian that we actually see in the series actually dates back to this. It seems like they have the lineage factor of King, and they're added to these children, it seems. And this kind of just adds more of a mystery to Vegapunk and how crazy of a scientist he really is. And me being a Sanji fan, I love how this kind of ties back into his storyline, and I hope that we gotta see some interaction between the warrior of science himself, Sanji, as well as Vegapunk. But I'll leave that for a little bit later. And obviously, we are still wondering if Sanji has the god DNA. But moving on, we actually see the man himself, one of the most villainous characters within One Piece, Blackbeard. And he seems to be in search for Boa Hancock's fruit simply because he doesn't want the Marines to get their hands on it first. And this is very interesting because why does he want the Mero Mero no Mi? But I guess you can already expect, as soon as Blackbeard comes, all hell breaks loose. And while this is happening, I'm pretty sure you can guess, especially since the Marines are invading Amazon Lily, that Koby is involved. And basically in this chapter, Koby lets it be known that they are not trying to fight, but Boa is going to have to surrender to the Marines. We then simply cut to Blackbeard, and he is actually very confused by the appearance of the SSG members, especially one in particular who seems to have Mihawk's sword. And the thing that makes this very interesting, Blackbeard in this chapter seems to know the description of Lunarian DNA. But the SSG member that Blackbeard counters, like I said before, has Mihawk's sword and has brown skin, white hair, a flame on his back, and wings, just like King. Now, the thing that makes this interesting, especially as we go a little bit later on in the chapter, it seems like the SSG members have some kind of date back to the former warlords. So the first one that we see, I'm going to go ahead and spoil, basically resembles Boa Hancock, while this one resembles more so a Mihawk. And I very much want to see how this kind of transpires. Like during the time of the warlords, basically once they were there, did they all have to basically surrender some of their DNA to Vegapunk in order for him to make the weapons that he has now, the SSG? And basically is why the Marines felt that they don't need the warlords, the original ones, in the first place. But we see this SSG member, the one who resembles Mihawk, slash the mountain behind Amazon Lily in half. These, like, come on, son. Like, come on. These members of the SSG are diabolical. And I love to see it. I love to see it. Now, after he does this, he immediately tries to attack Blackbeard. And he continues to attack, but Blackbeard has other plans. And he finally unleashes his darkness fruit, completely surrounding the area in darkness. But off in the distance, Boa Hancock actually makes her appearance and basically wipes out most of the Marines and turning them into stone. The clash continues and wreaks havoc all through Amazon Lily, but ultimately Blackbeard is able to basically get his hands on Boa Hancock. Now this is very interesting as well. Check this out. So as Blackbeard is holding Boa by her neck, he says something very interesting. He says that I've had my eye on your power for a while. Boa's response to this is this: my beauty is what makes this power formidable. If you kill me, all your little friends will remain statues forever. Whoever inherits my power won't be able to release them. Now my thought process, what could Blackbeard possibly want with Boa Hancock's fruit? And we all know that Blackbeard is a cool guy, but let's be honest, he's also one of the ugliest dudes in One Piece. No offense. Now, if we examine the Mirror no Mi Boa Hancock's fruit a little bit more closely, we'll find out that beauty isn't the only attribute that really makes this devil fruit work. The Mirror no Mi plays more so on the emotions themselves. So I think in a way it may kind of work like the same way that Big Mom is able to basically suck the soul out of those who are scared of her, in a way. And maybe Blackbeard wants to use this in tandem with the devil fruits that he already has, or maybe somehow there's a lurking legend waiting to be unpetrified by this devil fruit. But like I said, I digress. I want to know what you guys think in the comments down below. Let me know your theories of why Blackbeard would want Boa's fruit. Now, another thing that I would like to point out, I don't necessarily know in this chapter whether or not Blackbeard is utilizing any Conqueror's Haki, but I feel like this would be the perfect time for him to utilize it. This battle seems very important to Blackbeard, and the non-showcasing of his conquerors kind of leads me to think that devil fruits are the only power that Blackbeard truly wields, which I do find interesting, but I want to kind of see how that's elaborated a little bit later on. But right before Blackbeard wants to end the conversation and kill Boa, a lurking legend of himself actually pulls up to the battle. And we see a panel of black lightning come out of nowhere, and it's none other than the man himself, Rayleigh, the Dark King himself. And in this chapter, he plays almost the same role that Shanks played in the Paramount War. And also interesting, it seems like Blackbeard is sweating profusely at the arrival of Rayleigh, almost as if he is scared And like I said, I'm not saying that Blackbeard is a fraud, because he's definitely not. But this is kind of crazy, him being this scared, it seems, of Rayleigh. But I also think that maybe Rayleigh's addition, as well as the addition of the SSG members, it's a little bit too much for Blackbeard to handle, especially with some of his crew members being petrified. But after this, we actually move out of the flashback to the present day. If you remember Rayleigh's wife, Shaky, I'm hoping I'm saying that right, basically she is confirmed to have been the former Empress of Amazon Lily. And she is sitting right next to Rayleigh and Boa. But Rayleigh actually lets it be known that this situation actually came out a lot luckier than he had hoped. Especially since he thinks that he's not in his prime and doesn't think that he can take on Blackbeard with his old age. But I'm pretty sure if Rayleigh was in his prime, he'll make quick work of Blackbeard. Just saying. But as the talking continues, they actually discuss how bizarre it was to see the one SSG member who actually resembled Boa Hancock when she was a child. And like I said before, I think that in some way, shape, or form, Vegapunk was able to extract the DNA from all of the warlords and then infuse that DNA also with the Lunarian DNA from King and make the SSG members that we see in this chapter, in order to come up with the ultimate weapon for the Marines. Because if we're going to be honest, especially after the end of this chapter, the Marines have taken a numerous amount of L's. Like, come on, Marines. I mean, we're talking Green Bull. We're talking my boy Fujitora. I know he took an L though. He took an L against Sabo. And then we're looking at Koby right now. Koby. Anyways, I digress. Let's continue. But we finally end with the crazy news that ends the chapter. And it is known that Koby has been captured by the Blackbeard Pirates. And that's the end of the chapter. But I will say this for Koby, this is kind of an L, but I'll give him a pass because I wasn't expecting him to be on the level of Garp just yet. But this also leaves the question, what are Blackbeard's plans for Koby in the first place? Is this simply a hostage situation for the Marines in order for Blackbeard to get what he wants? Who knows? But I would like to see. But like I said, this is the end of the chapter and no breaks next week. Thank you, Oda. But please let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What do you think that Blackbeard wants to do with Boa's fruit? And also, what do you think about this newly developed SSG members having a very similar, basically, resemblance to the old warlords? I would like to see your theories in the comments down below. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to this chapter review. Please go ahead and subscribe to this channel as well as the Vinsmoke Benji channel. I'll make sure to go ahead and leave the link in the description down below. I love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace. Huh? You see what I did? Yeah. Okay. Anyways, I love you guys. Peace.